and welcome to West Country Wanderings. A bit of a different one for you today. About a year ago, not long after I launched West Country Wanderings, I did a one-off video talking about autism and mental health. And I haven't actually made another video in that playlist since then. Well, today I thought I'd do that. It's not quite as dark or into depth that one goes into when I was at the town of Exminster, or village of Exminster in Devon. Today I've come to Stroud, not far from where I live in Gloucestershire. What I thought I'd do is I wanted to talk about the subject of photography and mental health and how one can uplift the other or help to alleviate it. And the way I was going to do that was to go around the town here, and as you know, I find going around towns quite difficult, and I thought I'd do it in terms of a vlogging mode, walking through the town centre here. It's a bit quiet, it's towards the end of the day here. Do that and then take some photographs along the way, as well as talking about mental health generally. So I hope you can join me along here on West Country Wanderings. So I'm now walking up Locking Hill. If you know Stroud, you'll know that well. There's a NHS GP surgery there. Stroud Pottery here as well. And just coming up to the site of where Stroud Museum used to be. It's now the museum in the park in Stratford Park, and very delightful it is. You still have this wonderful Gothic Victorian building here. Not sure what that's used for nowadays. Oh, there we go, the Centre for Science and Art. Just show you that so you can see that on the other side there. Yes, it's got a magnificent bust of Queen Victoria on there. Obviously it shows the date Victoriana that it was built here in Stroud. I've just taken a photograph of that as well. In terms of equipment today, I'm using my Canon M50 for the photographs. That's using a 32mm standard lens, which I've covered on the channel before. And I always use the viewfinder, and the reason I do that, and I know other people use the screen to take the photographs, I'll talk about because it directly relates in an odd kind of way to mental health, and the two, as I say, are quite interlinked. The other thing of note, the building, is that in that building that was once the museum was also where a celebrated 20th century stained glass artist called Edward Payne once taught his pupils. We're now walking along Lansdowne. Now, according to the 1871 census, this is where all the wealthy tradespeople lived in Stroud. In fact, there was one master tailor that employed 10 workmen and 7 servants. So yes, this is really wealthy. Was once a very wealthy part of the town here in Stroud. Behind me here is Lansdowne Hall, now an important arts venue here in Stroud where local crafts and arts take place, and also performance arts and musicians too. Now outside the Church of St Lawrence, the main church here in Stroud. Now the thing is with Stroud, compared to the other Cotswold towns that we've explored here on West Country Wanderings, like Morton-in-Marsh, Stow-on-the-Wold, Charlbury, they're quite upmarket towns. And Stroud is resolutely working class. It's actually quite comparable to the Somerset town, which I've covered previously on my channel, of Frome. And that video has actually been very popular on the channel. And they both have a very green agenda. It attracts artists and alternative lifestyles. So I've come into the delightful Anne's Gardens next to the Golden Fleece pub. Sorry, I'm just watching my footing because there's a bit of mud down there. So you're probably thinking, well, how does photography and mental health been linked? Well, I've deliberately chosen to come to Stroud today because I pushed myself completely out of my comfort zone. In fact, I've already been approached, and not in a good way, because of vlogging in streets. This is why I don't like vlogging in towns and cities. The reason I've done it is because of the nature of photography. In terms of photography, you actually have, looking through that viewfinder, you're composing the shot in terms of its composition. And the artistic nature of that helps you to do practice an art of mental health technique, improving mental health technique called mindfulness. And I'm sure you've all heard a lot about mindfulness. And mindfulness is essentially about being in the moment, about being absorbed completely in your surroundings. And obviously I'm in this lovely garden here, just off the main high street, in fact, in Stroud. But you wouldn't think it's much quieter in this spot here. So though I can hear a little bit of traffic noise, there's a couple of aircraft above my head, I can hear a window closing, that sort of thing. I'm still absorbed completely in the moment. And by being absorbed in the moment, it takes you away from all the other thought processes that are going on in your mind. And the added benefit of doing it through photography is when you're composing the shot through the viewfinder, it really does get you to focus on what looks good in the shot, the colours, the gradients, the angle, looking at the rule of thirds, what's in focus, hopefully, or not in focus as well, because also that's important when looking at circles and what's leading lines, what's attracting the eye, that type of thing. And by focusing on all those things, it really does help to balance mental health. Now come to one of Stroud's more curious curiosities, and that is the castle, which is just behind me there. It's a folly, of course. It's not a real castle like Chepstow, Raglan, or the brilliant castles in Wales, and the ones we've seen on the channel like Goodrich and Totnes. But this is just a wonder. So yeah, that makes a great photographic subject. So we'll just get some shots of that, and I'll be practicing the old mindfulness by getting the right compositions as we do so, and I'll just show you the results of what I've come up with here. So what I was doing there, particularly with focusing on those composition, getting the tighter in shots, and looking for splashes of colour like the red letterbox, and also the form of that folly, where you have what would have been the keep, or it's done to look like a keep there. You have all those forms, and I probably spent 5, maybe 10 minutes focusing on that. And just by looking through the viewfinder, I could feel actually myself relax. One of the other things I do when I'm doing photography, as opposed to just talking to the camera on the old vlogging mode, is I actually also control my breathing. I do that in a subconscious way. I started doing that back in film days when I was using Kodachrome. Because in those days, I used to use Kodachrome 64. And as you had a very bright day, you could run into the problem of having a too slow a shutter speed, which of course meant you got the old camera shake. That's less important nowadays because we have things like image stabilization, both digital and IBIS, and also a lot more sensitive sensors as well. Excuse me, there's a fly just landed on the oh, there he goes, just on the lens protector there. And so it doesn't really apply so much these days. But because I've always done that, I can feel myself just lowering controlling the breathing, not stopping breathing, controlling the breathing. And by doing that, you can also feel blood pressure lowering. And because your blood pressure is lowering, your anxiety lowers as well. So it all kind of combines together. So you've got the creative benefit of doing photography. It doesn't matter if it turns out to be rubbish when you get home, because obviously the benefits of digital, you can just delete it and carry on. But it's the actual creative process of being in the moment, of taking the shot and seeing what you can come up with. So if you don't know Stroud, that's the centre of 5 valleys, which I've mentioned previously, and obviously brought up in terms of prosperity to do with the cloth trade. You see the sheep which is in cloth. There's lots of mills in the area. Beautiful golden light here this evening. We're going to make our way now to the bottom of the valley to bring this little video to a close. Well, it wouldn't be West Country Wanderings without coming back down to the canal, and I'm just by the edge of the TNS Canal, Thames, the old Thames and Severn, which you'll be familiar with on my channel, of course. Just to wrap the video up, I just wanted to firstly to say that my mental health is it's not fine, but it's no different to it is normally. That's not the reason I've made the video today. It's just that I've been conscious of the fact I haven't made another video touching on the subject of mental health since I did that one a year ago. And I know that mental health touches a lot of our lives, not just myself because I'm autistic or people that have autism, but generally life has become a lot tougher. We've got the cost of living crisis, climate change, the pandemic, there's lots of things, job insecurity, pressures at work, all those sort of things. And they do obviously really impact on our mental health. And I'm sure some of you watching this today will be familiar with what I'm talking about. And it's just to show you that one of the ways I use to manage my own mental health is through photography. I'm sure you've probably realised that anyway, because of the videos that I make here on West Country Wanderings. And although you may not be particularly interested in photography yourselves, you don't actually do it yourself, there's probably something you can find to do which actually helps to alleviate the problems of experiencing poor mental health in terms of anxiety and depression and other factors to do with mental health too. I'm actually at a location called Bowbridge. That there is Bowbridge Lock, which I have featured on one of my Canal Update series. In fact, the latest one is up. If not yet, check that out, Canal Update 11. There will be other videos on my channel coming up. There'll be ones on railways, there'll be back on the Severn Way, and there'll be a Cotswold walking one too. And I'll also be taking a trip back down into either Cornwall or Devon. But I do hope to return to the subject of mental health. It's not one that's going to go away anytime soon, unfortunately. I'd like to know your thoughts on this video. If it's something you'd like to see more of on my channel, then please drop a line in the usual way in the comments, either on YouTube or of course you have my Facebook group, West Country Wanderings. Love to hear from you there too. Until next time, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you again very, very soon. All the best for now. Cheers. Goodbye.
you.